Yeah, I want to play Necro Coffers, and I'm not sure how I feel about this list, but I think let's go ahead and get into it. So I do think that while Grief was legal, I think you were like pretty heavily incentivized to play Grief and Malika Rebirth in your deck, which is pretty awkward in the Cabal Coffer shell. One, you don't have as much to ramp into, but also you are not really playing swamps for your Cabal Coffers, which you kind of need to play in droves. The format also got slower with the Nadu ban. There's just like less turn 3 kill you decks, and like the Ruby Storm is pretty beatable. So I think trying to play a slightly slower build of Necro that's in on Cabal Coffers and Karn is making some sense to me, especially where Karn can let you get some equity against the Eldrazi decks, which I think could be kind of tricky matchups. And splashing green for Pillage the Bog and Culling Ritual I think is interesting, where you can Profane Tutor and resolve Culling Ritual on turn 4, and then play something big hopefully after that. And then Pillage the Bog I think is also just pretty good in this archetype, and I've also kind of just been missing. I've been missing coffers in general. I think this is probably the time to like circle back to coffers. Necro, I think it's kind of underexplored in general. Do I think that this is probably the way to build Necro going forward? I think there's a good chance you probably want to build it a little bit more typical. We'll get weird with it here on the channel. We're up against Kihira the Orphan Guard. I think I'm keeping this. They could unironically be cats. Seems like they're probably just a control variant. Susari to 41 months. Long live the ring. Hell yeah. The ring is certainly very important to Scale's playability at the moment. Well, there are not a ton of Teferi Time Ravelers in Modern. Wait, so they have no Flage in their deck. But we have, queued into the Teferi Time Raveler deck. Hopefully they don't Time Raveler my Profane Tutor, though. Scales and playability in the same sentence. I mean, you're probably very good against Boros Energy, which is nice. I think you have like a lot of game in the metagame, but you're very weak to Wrath the Skies. But the best way to be resilient to that is playing the ring, and I think it's also interesting that you can play some Phyrexian Towers to power out the ring a bit faster. And I've kind of worked on that shell a little bit, but I don't know how much people would be excited for. I'm playing the ring and Scales today. It's great staring at Uncastable Forge up after getting Stone Rain to Chroma's Wrath. I mean, there's not a better option. But valid. My opponent says, hello, Spike, GLHF. Okay, so we're getting Teferi next turn. That Scales is unplayable because of Wrath. I mean, I don't know that Scales is unplayable because of Wrath, but I do think that oh, it's Narset. It's Narset. But I do think you kind of have to play the ring, so you just have like a stronger plan against Jeskai. There's Teferi Time Raveler. So I guess we're looking for a discard spell off the top. Zero Damnation feels weird. There's a bunch of decks where you need the unconditional removal spell. In my opinion, Eldrazi, Frogtide, 0. Yeah, maybe. I did think about playing one. I feel like the Culling Ritual is like pretty dang sick, and also like against those cards, you do have like just ton of card draw, March of Wretched Sorrow, Sheoldred, Karn stuff to like deal with it. But yeah, I agree to some extent. Okay, so I'm gonna bring in the Voidwalkers over the Fatal Pushes, of course. And then if my opponent's not playing... so I want to get rid of the Profane Tutors against the Teferi deck if possible. Not sure if it's possible to... I want to keep the ring as a Karn target. Yeah, I played Mono Green Eldrazi yesterday. I played Chalice over Trinisphere. Kind of regretted it. I also have this... Also, this is a swamp, by the way. I know it looks pretty foresty. I have a build of Eldrazi that's Simic that is playing Portent. That I think it looks pretty clean, and it's kind of tentatively the backup deck after this. But I also wanted to play. Like a real league of that Naya deck we started with yesterday, since I spent a good amount of time working on that list, and I felt like it has. I don't think I gave it enough attention. I guess I should say this. I love Culling Ritual. Sorry about that. I know it's awkward with Necro, but isn't Field of Ruin super good right now? I think you just answered the question. Like, I don't really think you can play. I don't really think you can play Field of Ruin in the deck with Necrodominance. Okay, so here's a Prismatic Ending. Any plotters in the chat? Just gonna wait on the pillage. Just slam Sheoldred here. Happy enough if it gets countered. But then we can pillage for more next turn, and then we can maybe like draw a discard spell or draw a threat and find a discard spell. Any merit to playing copies of map too slow? Profane Tutor usually is better than map because it's like it both assembles Coffers Urborg on turn 4, what can also just be a Ring or a Karn or a Necro or a Sheoldred on turn 4 or a Culling Ritual. Map kind of means you've got too many mana sources usually, just kind of bad top decks. You can play like a Takanuma, but it's just a bit much. Okay, well, opponent's tapped out. Maybe they have a Force of Negation, but hopefully we can resolve something here. Looking for a Necro. Yeah, I think we take Necro over anything here. Nice. All right, purely vibe based. Let's draw, I think 7. So I think we discard 2 lands, second March, Haywire Mites. I just guessed the other March. To see the Geological Praiser deck, basically blue-red shell, but has Leyline Scion, as well as a 1-card combo. All right, let me know how similar it is to this. November 20th of last year. Okay, I was playing 1 Violent Outburst. Probably not too similar. Okay, so I can't Thoughtseize them. Would rather them counter the Karn than counter the Sheoldred. Four halflings ramp into Necro Karn, and it's good versus counters. Well, it's pretty weird to play it in a Cabal Coffer shell specifically, where it's like having non-land ramp in your Cabal Coffers deck is awkward. That being said, I do kind of like the idea. So you would just kind of not play Cabal Coffers if you played halfling, which might be okay. Might be okay. Sheoldred card ring Necrodominance legendary. Yeah, I think it's cool. Although the thing is, you don't really want to. So I don't think you want to play halfling and Cabal Coffers in the same deck. So if you're not playing Cabal Coffers, you don't want to play Karn. But it is kind of an interesting thought to play halfling in a Necro deck. I like the idea, but I think it would be a different build. Cinema with the gifted sub. Thank you so much. Hope that you're doing well today. Appreciate you and all that. And binding the Karn. So I can Mite the binding, potentially. Not the best hand. Now, I've been pretty excited to try out the Aetherflux Reservoir here, and I think it's going to be a nice addition to the crew. Not sure if I could win the game here. I guess I'll go... Oh, come on. I think we were going to win, yeah. Swing for 4. Well, I just cast that Sheoldred. Alright, looks nice. I'm going to use the restroom real quick, be right back.
What's up? It's me, your friend, Aspiring Spike. What's up? It's me, your friend, Aspiring Spike.
Okay, on the draw against Control, gonna keep Urborg Cabal Coffers hand. It has a Voidwalker on turn 2. Has some Surveillance. Yeah, I like the Sunspire Link stack. I would definitely circle back to that one if Ring gets really, really dominant. Energy matchup's a big problem, though. Okay, opponent is in the tank here. I got the 4th Mite for 1 cookbook. I had a cookbook for a while, Goblin Guide, and I never used it once, but I had the cookbook for a bit. Thank you for the feedback. Now with Bird gone, what's the Stonebraid in the board for? Is it worth the slot? I think it's worth the slot. There's like when you want it against Tron, I feel like you're gonna want it against Necro potentially sometimes. Titan might make a comeback. But yeah, maybe you don't need it. I think I just take the Narset. What, maybe choose 4 Urborg? Mostly just experience with the archetype, I guess. Also, I have 4 Necros in my deck, so I really need an Urborg if I have Cabal Coffers in my hand. So I'm probably going to want to play the Voidwalker not this turn, but like the turn after, so like my opponent will have to Prismatic Ending it and tap low, and then I might be able to resolve something. Although now with this top deck, I feel like it makes sense to just cast this, plot the Pillage, and then go from there. Maybe its variances come up every so often. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it comes up. I agree. I had it for a long time and it never came up for me. And you know, I think the 3 mites in the board are the 4 mites in the board are very important. Like there are many matchups where I board all 3 in, and I really want another one in the board for Karn. Like I like that happens so often. I think it's like more important than sometimes having a cookbook to discard with. But I do genuinely appreciate the feedback. There's a ring, so hopefully we can find a Karn off of our Pillage. That Hinge is looking good too. It looks. I think I'm just supposed to grab my own copy of the ring in this spot. I was considering get the Ballista. Yeah, you could get the Ballista. The Ballista's there mostly just to kill Harbinger of the Tides. So like, which I think is kind of important, but maybe Cityscape Leveler can do that often enough. Did you consider Urza's Cave? I didn't really think about Urza's Cave, but I'm glad that you brought it up. I have basically no experience with that card. So I'm gonna tap this now, so that if my opponent, all they can do is tap Hinge, they have to activate it now. But they're gonna want to keep up a counterspell for my ring, I think. Okay. And then instead of just playing into this counterspell, we'll just plot the pillage. Pass back. I know it's the board there. Where does that get brought in with this deck? So you tutor with Karn, just like all the other things. We actually just tutored it last game, but it's going to be a card that you're going to get to just kind of overwhelm your opponent. You're going to gain a ton of life and then kill them eventually with like gaining a ton of life with Sheoldred or just the Reservoir. Your hand is full, kill them. I'm a big fan of Aetherflux Reservoir. I've almost definitely played more Aetherflux Reservoir than any other person in Modern at this point. But it is kind of an experimental thing, and I'm not sure how long it'll stay in the board or whatever. Yeah, Sheoldred March. There's just like a lot of lines that involve killing with the card, I think. So I can leveler the binding. Okay, I'll keep a Necro also. Now, I think the best thing to find here would be a Cabal Coffers, so I'm going to cast this Pillage before playing my land. Right, still seems like the best thing. So I have 10 mana. Hopefully we can dodge a consign here. Although I guess I should maybe have coding the Hinge first so I could plus immediately without them having like another binding. Because Team of Prayers is the better dedicated combo deck, is it good to play in a very ring heavy meta? I mean, you have Ranger Captain for ring decks too, and Bant. I think Bant is just kind of better than Teamer in general. Could have ringed for Consign Bait. That's true, yeah. That's a good point. Lever have to resolve it before they pending. You mean binding? That's not true. They can binding right now. Maybe just letting them hinge, but I think maybe making their bindings more expensive is correct. Definitely a weird spot. Now, my opponent probably has another counter spell. Yeah, I think especially with the Karn coding, I think we can just not cast anything here and be okay. Is this a meta deck? Basically, all I do on this channel, Tricks, is build decks and try to brew and innovate and change things. You'll basically never see me just like log in with like a standard or normal build of an archetype. I try to brew, innovate, change, and work on stuff. That's what we're doing here today. I think that in general, Cabal Coffers Necro is kind of an underexplored build, and I thought, all right, I agreed that with the ring legal, it made a bit more sense to, with Grief legal, it made more sense to play the Grief builds of the archetype, but now Grief is banned, so today feels like a really ideal day to work on this variant. So we're just going to grab this coding again. Recent Narset got second to Modern Challenge. I did see this deck, yeah. I mean, it doesn't really make any sense, honestly, but it is very cool. The ring is so good in turns like this where your opponent has counterspell fortification. It's so good. um The ring is good, I'm just kidding. Okay. Would anyone think to Living Lore in Arena of Glory? I wish. It it's a very cool thought, but it's like a much worse combo than just like trying to Glorious Vengeance and Atraxa, you know? Maybe I'm dumb. After second counterspell, what's the reason to not coding the untap land? So I don't get to if I coding an untap land, I don't get to kill it in this spot. I just make it to where it can't be tapped for mana. So all that does is play around 3 mana counterspells, which I would rather just stop them from using the mana on their turn. If that makes sense. Would Hinge have been worth naming with Needle? I don't think with the coding Karn in play, but if I didn't have Karn coding going, I would have named it. So everyone's going to go to 1. If they're 2 from the ring and 2 from the draw step. Put us on a Molda 6 here. Do we have to wait to cheat out Tutor? We're just waiting. We're waiting 2 turns. Yeah. Profane Tutor's fine. I feel like it was a little slow in the Nadu format. I'm kind of hoping it's good again. It has definitely been a good card in previous modern iterations. Okay, we're probably up against Storm. Looking for a discard spell, or maybe an Urborg. I missed out some of the Griefless Vengeance. How was it when it was good? We went 4-1. We lost to Frog, which is a pretty tough matchup. But yeah, I would play it again. Getting turn 2'd. Is Besiege too much for this kind of covers list? Yeah, Besiege sucks. That card is so bad. Alright, super duper dead. Wait, oh sorry. No, super dead. They're just not immediately casting this Bastion Flames, but they need to cast it first, right? Oh no, they can go Glimpse first. Because this costs 2 and they'll have a mana floating. Down a game. I guess I just cut Marches for Voidwalkers. And then the Culling Ritual is kind of okay against them. It kills the not only their 2-mana enablers, but sometimes the Empty the Warrens. Not very often, of course. Anything we're bringing in? I don't think so. Yeah, I agree. Storm is probably our worst matchup. Maybe we should have a Damping Sphere in our sideboard. It's just so weird in the Cabal Coffers deck. Put us on a Molda 5. Any Springheart and Antico brews down the pipeline. And we have some like Naya and Celestia lists that probably should circle back to soon. Yeah, I guess Trinisphere. Sorry, yeah, we should have Trinisphere. Nice to get the Voidwalker down. They did Molda 5 also. Yeah, or Jailer. Yeah, we should have something. Maybe Jailer over the Spellbomb. Any updates planned for John Vinelasher? I don't know. I feel like that list doesn't have a ton of wiggle room, but it was pretty bad against Nadu, so we can maybe circle back to it. Yeah, Trinisphere always beats the cost reducers. Always has to be 3. The Metamorphosis is pretty interesting because it would let me like Karn for more, go maybe Karn plus ring next turn. Alright, Rao with 3 mana floating and 3 cards in hand. Cast the Desperate Ritual. Skippy Live with Twitch Prime, thank you so much. Appreciate you. And GG's Ilta. GG's Golden God. Lost the flip. One card in their hand. It's probably a wish. Oh, they should have impulsed before this ritual for sure. And then they should not have transformed this Ral. They should have tried to wait until they could ultimate it immediately, which they might have been able to, I think. Seems they wanted to minus on the Voidwalker, but now they've bricked on their impulse just into 2 rituals. Yeah, Ral is pretty crazy. Do you think Hollow One is going to be even better now? I haven't watched the video. So, I mean, the video is not a strategy video on what's going to happen to the format post-bans. It's more of a criticizing Wizards' kind of inconsistencies on the ban structure. Let's Stonebrain them next turn. But I do think Hollow One will be very good. I think it was already a pretty good deck that had a very bad Nadu matchup, and now Nadu is banned. And not only is like its worst matchup gone, but you are also going to be able to play. You're going to be able to play. Also, shout out to Gigantia. Oh, they milled a Striker Wretch. You'll be able to play no Harsh Mentors in your sideboard. So your sideboard also opens up a lot. But I'm not really sure how I'm changing the sideboard for the archetype. Is it safe to pick up One Rings now? Depends on what you want to do with them. Not a finance channel, but it seems like you'll be able to play with them for a while, probably. It's probably safe, yeah. Alright, so they're casting they should have cast both rituals so that they go to the graveyard for Pass in Flames. Opponent's perhaps a little bit new to Stormin. So I'm going to Karn them here because I really want to see how they sideboard it for game 3. Did you happen to play Gorozak Grief yesterday? We did today. We went 4-1 with our Flare of Denial build, losing to Frog, which is a pretty bad matchup. Alright, so they do have Blood Moons in their board. It does seem like they're completely dead to Stonebrain on Wish. At least this game. They'll probably board in a win condition for next game, but we'll cross that bridge next game, I guess. Maybe they won't. I've read a lot of players being upset Grief was banned. It feels like there's no care for the people who may have tried Modern, got turn 1 Grief scammed, and went to another format game. Where's the perspective? I did a video, Hitachi. I would recommend watching it. But for me, I think my issues with their ban decision, it doesn't come from, like, Grief being scammed is very unfun, but their decision to ban Grief now is very weird. Grief since MH3, Grief, I think you could argue, has been like an all-time low in the format. He's playing Gorios, he's playing Necro, but Necro also doesn't scam it very often. I'm gonna look at this hand. Really need a discard spell. Grief doesn't. They didn't even scam it that often. They mentioned red black mid range in the article, which is like just not a modern deck at all. It's like it's less about the fact that Grief sucks, I think, and more about the fact that the timing is just so weirdly inconsistent. They banned it. It was a purely vibes based ban because it's unfun to happen. Why when it's been previously way more unfun for players. It's been way more impactful for players previously. And I think more people are complaining about the ring as far as play pattern considerations go. And so it's like what is the method? What is like why is it like it's just very confusing and inconsistent. And I don't think anybody's upset to not have to play against Grief anymore. But I think myself and most people would prefer to see a more structured bans schedule or like ban reasonings. But I went over a bit more detail in the video. We know they have Past in Flames in their hands, so I'm going to get this Voidwalker down. Is it not worth doing Golgari Crimes? I think Lookout's pretty bad at the moment. I don't know if that's ever going to change. Okay, I should have played Ruby before the Ritual too. I guess they wouldn't be able to keep the treasure. Could the ban do to be a card mechanic from a future set? Maybe. But yeah, I mean, I titled the video, Wizards mostly does things at random. You know, it is... There's just not a lot of rhyme and reason on these decisions very often. And it leaves a lot of us kind of wondering what the hell is going on. It's a game where I went turn 1 Inquisition, turn 2 Voidwalker. Kind of scary. What are my thoughts with them admitting EDH effects, modern card design image sets, like with them talking about Nadu? I mean, I love that they admitted it. I put a very well-structured video out, or, you know, I really tried to, you know, condense all this. I don't have to talk about this too much today. I really recommend watching it. There's a link at the top of the chat, but I love that they admitted the mistake. I love that they were very clear, like, we fucked up, we should not have done this. This is what happened. And I love that they did that. I think that that's really good that they just said bluntly, we fucked up and here's how we fucked up. That's good. It's very bad that a card ends up in a modern set that is, and that card is, dang, what a turn. And that card is like designed just for EDH. Okay, they should have played Impulse, whatever. It's bad that a card could be designed just for EDH. Commander, whatever. And not go in the Commander only product. Like that is a big miss when a card is designed only for Commander, but it doesn't go in the Commander only product. Like that should not happen. So am I putting a wish for an answer to Voidwalker maybe? Yeah, and also that card was not designed well for Commander too, but it's maybe another can of beans. So again, I think it's very good that Wizards is very open to critique. I think it's very good that Wizards is very open to admitting these mistakes and talking about how these mistakes happened. And I would love for them to continue to do that. I would love for them to continue to talk about mistakes, how they happened, and what they're doing to change it. I would have liked to see them address more about what they're going to do to change it in the article. I think the fact that, like, I would have loved the words, we are not going to anymore design a card for a format or for Commander and not have it just go with a Commander only set. I really feel like that would be awesome. Okay, I mean, I would love to cast this Abrade. Instead, we're going to just cast Manamorphose. Dude, they top decked another Impulse. Pretty brutal. They're going to flip the Ral. They probably should. Oh, sorry. I messed up because now I can't Manamorphose into Fatal Push. They had 2 lands off their Impulse. If they're going to release Commander products with every set, there's no reason to include Commander cards in normal releases. Yeah, exactly. Like that. That is exactly right. 0% chance of that happened. They would still want to sell booster Commander players. Yeah, I mean, I don't know about 0%, but I hope not 0%. But you might be right. We'll see if they learn. You know, there's a lot. I said this in the video too. But there's a lot to critique Wizards for. I do think that they're a company that sometimes listens to feedback. I do think they're a company that can learn from their mistakes, and I hope that this ends up being an example of that. So I think I'm getting Karn so I can grab Needle. But y'all land, it's really good. Oh, I don't have a forest in my deck, but I mean my Voidwalker can't even cast Manamorphose anymore. How are we casting this Culling Ritual? I guess it'll be tough. Yeah, like Baragoyf and Pyrogoyf both would have been really cool modern cards. Oh wait, I can just explosives on 2. So maybe a bit of a punt to get the Needle. We might win. Paragraph Fitting Face might have been too busted. I think it probably would have been fine, but it seemed like an exciting card to print even if it wasn't. For whatever that's worth. I agree it would have been pretty strong. But it's also like it gets hit by Graveyard Hate. It's a 4-mana card. Ultimately, like if it's a 4-mana like a 4-mana 6/7 that deals 6 damage on ETB, kind of feels like maybe that's just okay in a deck that has to be kind of graveyard focused and built around casting a 4-drop. I think it would have been sick at the very least, if not maybe a little too pushed. So naming Ral seems a little weird with the Fatal Push, but I don't think I have a better name. In the article, it doesn't say that the card was designed for Commander. For the sake of precision, what is indicated after removing the flash from the version, my intention was to create a build around aimed at Commander play. Aver, that is saying designed for Commander. If you have checked it, I've missed where it says Wizard's intended card to be EDH only card. When I say like this says it is a card that is designed for Commander play, intended for Commander play. Oh, I named the wrong Rao. Wait, no, I didn't. Oh, I named the front half. Damn it. Rao Leyline Prodigy. It says here, my intention was to create a build around aimed at Commander play. That is saying this card is designed for Commander, and the card is intended to be a Commander card and not a Modern card. It doesn't say intended to be a Commander and Modern card. You know what I mean? Ooh, they have an Abrade. Did they change their sideboard plan? Yes, there's one Empty the Warrens. The other Wish is already in exile here. You could Liquimetal Coating, sack Voidwalker, and push the Moon. That'd be pretty cool. I'm gonna, I'm gonna surgical their wishes. But yeah, that would have been pretty cool. Forsyth responded to comment on Twitter, said this is since you guys EDH drive sales. I mean, of course this is the case. Of course this is the case. That EDH drives sales. But if a card is designed primarily because of Commander, I strongly believe that it should not be in the Modern section of Modern Horizons 3. Like, this is Modern Horizons 3. And we have a Commander-only product for Modern Horizons 3. I think that having this attitude for regular standard sets is fine. Having this attitude in general is also fine. But it just doesn't. There's still going to be plenty of cards from the set that Commander players will want to pick up. It's Modern Horizons 3. Let's put the Commander-focused cards in the Commander portion of the set. It just doesn't seem like rocket science, you know. Okay, because they cast Manamorphose, they can't really win anymore because now I can cast Pillage against Empty the Warrens. I understand he's referring to removing the original Flash, which positioned a problem in Commander play. The problem is the original text of Nadu in Commander. They did not impact the other formats. The whole card originally, therefore changed, was conceived only from each, just intending for patience to stand corrected. Thanks for patience. Was not... Okay. The whole card was not conceived only for EDH, is my understanding. I just said they can't win, but maybe I am dying right now. The whole card originally and therefore after the change was conceived only for EDH. Was not conceived only for EDH. I mean, at least by my understanding of also super punished for this Needle name, by the way. My understanding reading this article, when I read the words, I've designed this for a Commander audience. I think what you're probably doing or misunderstanding is being hypercritical of me using the word designed only for Commander play. When, sure, the card is legal and Modern, but when they say, I designed this for an EDH audience, and not I designed this for Modern and EDH, you know what I mean? I think you're just being hypercritical of me using the word only here. I think the shadow is coming about how the card wasn't put into the commander side because it wasn't considered in testing for it, but then was, so it was always gonna be constructed not the commander side. Well, then this is just like a flaw in the process that the cards are like inflexible, that you aren't allowed, that you aren't able to have a card that is like a commander only set card, or like is initially going to be in MH3, and then you realize that it should be more of a commander card. How is it not allowed in the process for you to just move it over to the other set? How is this like, why is it the fact that this card must be in the set? It isn't finalized, it isn't printed. It shouldn't be that difficult to just say, let's move this over. Okay, so I've already used my explosives. And I named the wrong row. Coating, push ritual. Well, they killed my Karn, unfortunately. I think we would have had to draw land for that, though. The issue is they printed out with testing the final version. I mean, that is also an issue. That is also an issue, of course. Is that they, yet again, they did the same thing with the One Ring. The same thing with the One Ring, printed without testing, changed at the last minute. Yes, this is an issue, of course. Alright, unclear if we would have won if we had named the right card with Rao. I really thought we were going to get there. It's like, they didn't show me the ring after they changed it. Like we were contracted for a set period of time, and once our contract was over, like they didn't contact us about any changes. And they said that they did contact people about the changes, but it was a very small window without like many eyes on it. And so like this process needs to change, and I think this process might change. But I think it's less about the size of the team and more about like the process itself. Like maybe like lead designers of sets, like maybe you shouldn't have a lead designer. Maybe you should have like a trio of 3 designers who are like equally sharing the burden of designing these sets, you know? Could be like a restructuring, but you know, ultimately I'll say this. Modern Horizons 3 was an incredibly ambitious set, and I think I'm taking the Ragavan and then Thoughtseize the Johnny. Modern Horizons 3 was an incredibly ambitious set, and I think that they did a very good job with it, with the exception of Nadu. And I think they did a very poor job managing the ban list to like let a lot of the hype die. But damn it, it's banned now. So hopefully shit gets better. It's not going to change. This mistake happened to Skullclamp 20 years ago. So, okay, so I've heard this comment. Who are y'all getting upvotes on Reddit when you type this? It's not going to change. This happens to Skullclamp 20 years ago. I don't know if you're getting upvotes or something, but like, of course, Wizards is always going to make design mistakes. Of course, there are always going to be design mistakes. In Magic, it is not very realistic for them to not expect for this to happen. But there's a, I think the play design team has there's lots of clear examples of the play design team learning from mistakes and getting better. And like, I think the most clear thing is, we talked about this yesterday, we're not in that era of 2019 to 2021 anymore. We are now in an era where we're not seeing 2 to 3 huge format breaking cards every single set. The problem is that their methods haven't improved. I mean, their methods have improved, though. It's like they now do bring in the outside consultants. Like, you can't just say their methods haven't improved because they made a mistake 20 years ago in a similar way. It's just like, it is different. And yes, they did fuck up, but they have absolutely changed the structure of how they test and design. Oh, that's a good static prison. Although they have no extra energy at the moment, but we have no spells in our hand. Still no spells. Keeping that one on top. The issue with the post is more they didn't say how they're going to improve, but that not that they're incapable of improving. I agree with that too. I agree with that too. But I agree that they should have been more clear on like what steps they're going to take. I do agree with that. But the Skullclamp example just feels, so to me, it feels very irrelevant. It just, They made a design mistake 20 years ago in a similar way. I don't know that this is just conclusive evidence of very much. Okay, so I was looking for a card to try to explosives on one. I don't find the Karn. I have 7 mana, so if I pillage into another Karn, I won't have enough mana to use it. I guess we are going to Necro. For 6 cards? So I don't die to a bolt? Oh, sorry, that would put me dead to a bolt, so I put 5. Alright. Skullcam Sense fine as example, but they improved design and balancing. They still slept on less of a change and then tested again. I know, yes, they did fuck up. They did fuck up. It is a problem, it happens again. I agree. I don't know. I feel like everybody could probably just on honestly the same side of this and getting lost in the semantics of it all. I guess I should maybe explosives on 0. No, I mean explosives on 1 lets me tap the ring, which lets me draw more cards off the Necro if I want to play around bolts. Maybe I should have got Aetherflux Reservoir. Got the D&D secret layer, had a 36-minute checkout time. Yeah, I mean, I really want the Karlach secret layer, but they have 2 burn spells as their last 2 cards. Well, that sucks. Kind of tough to play around. Not sure I have like any combination of March of Wretched Sorrow plus cards that gets me out of this, but I might as well try. Okay, so I can gain 4 life here and die. Okay, dang. I don't think I'm bringing anything in. Should we do this? Maybe grabbing Ring and casting Ring instead. I mean, it was like definitely possible to play around their hand being burn spell, but it was just kind of tough to maybe. Yeah, maybe it was something I could have seen. I think wiping the board twice is correct play. Hindsight's 2020. How are we wiping the board twice? Because I don't have 2 explosives on my board. EE went to X. Oh, right, because EE gets XL to Necro. Right. Okay, yeah, that was cool play. Thanks, Pokey. That was a cool play, yeah. Did you not ring protection on prison? No, you don't get protection when ring enters, and if you didn't cast it. Correct me if I'm wrong. Doesn't the fact that the Commander Committee rarely, if ever, bans unfun cards in Commander put a lot of pressure on design to not make cards that are busted in Commander? These cards will likely exist in the format forever with high prices. What potentially do nothing constructed seems tough for design. Yeah, I don't think I disagree with anything you said there. But I'm not sure exactly what conclusion you're supposed to draw. My opponent didn't fetch a basic plane, so I'm gonna kind of hope they don't have a Blood Moon here. And then I think let's draw 5 cards. I can have my Cabal Coffers, double Coffers ready for tomorrow. Or tomorrow, next turn. You could have not activated Ring, go to Instep Necro for 2. If they bulge, you draw. Yeah, I guess that might have been a better line. JMO with the 17 months. Hope you're doing well today. Appreciate you. Another thing to note is that with the exception of Assassin's Creed, we have not had a straight to modern set without major format stagnation. Lord of the Rings also doesn't, but we know the Ring, questionable see around. Feels like we should expect 1 overly pushed card per cycle per set at this point. I guess so. I mean, it seems kind of unrealistic to expect them to get it perfect, but maybe my expectations are too low. I don't know. What if my opponent intentionally would give me my Necro back here? They hit Disruptor Flute off of Amped Raptor? Must be nice, dude. Jeez. They have to take some damage to their own, Johnny at least. Should have taken the Raptor, I guess. Is pushing main better because of bombardments? Maybe. They're going to be able to kill my Sheoldred either way because they have Flage in their hand, so I'm not really sure. Is Reservoir because of life gain or basically Bliss replacement? I mean, both. I would say both. Seems better to not block because of the Flage in their hand. Yeah, Culling Ritual would be a nice rip. Although, sorry, I think I may have just killed myself. Four, five, six. I don't think we're expecting to get perfect either. There's a line between pushed and the problem that they fall over and design with image sets. I think we should expect that from now on. I mean, I guess so. At the very least, it's like, I just don't know where this conversation, like, realistically ends up going. You know what I mean? It's like your conclusion of we should expect 2 pushed Modern Horizons card per set is like, what do we do? After we sit and expect it this whole time. You know what I mean? Like, maybe I'm overthinking it. But there may never be another Modern Horizon set. They may, it may just be like.